All right, it is time for July TBR and reading plans. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm super excited to be here today and to share with you this video. This is going to be the books I plan on reading in July, sorta. There are some specific titles that I am reading for, mostly for social reads, and there's one that I just want to read. And I do have an event that I'm going to be participating in that the details have yet to be released, so I will do a TBR closer to the time. And then there's also something else that is going to be probably the focus of the rest of the month. The focus of the rest of the month. You see how that doesn't work out at all? I will talk about that a little bit later. I'm looking back on my June TBR / reading plans and why that did not quite go to plan. I will share thoughts on that later in the video because I had something that came up that I was like, wow, it doesn't really work when you try and do that. Anyway, but I don't want to start with that. And then what else? There's also a world event that I am looking very much forward to and will definitely impact my reading, but that will be later in the month. So I'm going to start with the specific books and then the events, and then I'll share why June, with the big misstep I had in June. Let's go with that order. Okay, so first up, for specific books, I am doing a couple of buddy reads this month. First up, I'm kind of assuming that I will be reading Shah and the City of Gold by Roshani. This is the fourth book in the Pandava series, and it is a middle grade urban fantasy mythology-based series. It's part of the Rick Riordan Presents line, and I have been reading this with Izzy, Punk Rock Girl PA, as well as Kay Kelly. Hey, Kay Kelly. Hey, Izzy. And yeah, we've been reading these one a month for the past 3 months, so I don't think it's a huge stretch of the imagination to say that we will read the fourth book in July. I am pre-filming this before the live show, which is when we decide the date for the next book and what the next book is. But I imagine we will continue the series. I have really enjoyed the series so far, so I'm looking forward to this next one. I thought it was going to end with this book, but I think there is a fifth book that will be coming out this year. City of Gold came out in 2021. So, I get a 2021 release in. I so rarely read in-year books. It's not even a goal. It does come up in my reflection video. Oh, and I want to apologize. I did do a May reflection video on how my reading challenge went, but I didn't do a reflection generally for May. It just was getting towards the end of the month, and it just felt like, I felt like looking back on the challenge was more valuable and more unique than the weekly, the monthly reflection. And so I probably, when I look back on June, if there's anything that was of great interest that happened in May, I will share it in my June reflection video. But I kept on saying I was going to do it and I didn't. So sorry about that. I'm trying to ebb and flow with things a little bit more, which is not my normal nature. So it's taken some adjustment, but I think it's a good thing overall. Next up, I am doing a new buddy read. I'm super excited about this, and I'm going to be buddy reading with Anita from Anita Reads. Hi, Anita! I will leave a link to Anita's channel up above. If you watch me, you probably, I imagine, would watch her. We do have a lot of similar genres and books that we enjoy, and we will be reading this series. I never even really considered reading the series because it is so long, but we are going to be reading The Fantasy Lover by Sherilyn Kenyon, which is the first book in the Dark Hunters series, sometimes also known as Hunter Legends series. This is paranormal romance, urban fantasy. I'm not sure if it's a little bit of both or if it airs on the side of one versus the other. I guess we'll find that out as we read it. So the first book is Fantasy Lover. This is a really long series, 30 books so far. It started in 2002, and the most recent book is 2018. I don't know if it is complete at that. I don't want to look into it in case of spoiling myself. I have a feeling it might keep going, but it's also one of those ones that has sort of like series within the series, not necessarily spin-offs, but ones that sort of intertwine, and then there's lots of like in-betweener books and stuff like that. So this one, every time I research paranormal romance or urban fantasy series to read, I just looked at this one and was like, I don't even know where to start. So thank you, Anita. I'm really happy that we are going to be reading this together, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So Fantasy Lover. I don't even know what type of paranormal romance. I give it with that broody look, it's probably vampires. And it's interesting placement too, because 2002 was right near the end or was it near the middle, towards the end of Buffy the Vampire, the TV series. So because a lot of urban fantasy and paranormal romance we've seen in the past sort of like 12 to 14 years, but this predates that. So this is sort of like when Buffy the Vampire Slayer was on, or I think like the show Moonlight. I don't know how many people watched that one. That was a really fun one. But it was way less prevalent and popular than it is now, where there is lots of shows and books. So I'm really curious to see what it is going to be like. So that's going to be fun. Also, then for book clubs, the Who Picked This Book club is going to be starting the Seaside Cafe series. This is a book club run by Nicole and Jen. And so the first book, I actually mentioned the first book in June because I was hoping to get a jump start on it, but I didn't. But I am pre-filming this, so I do have a couple days. I could start it before July. And the first book is Live and Let Chai by Bree Baker, and the second book is No Good Tea Goes Unpunished by Bree Baker, and this is that's a pseudonym for Julianne Lindsay. These are cozy mysteries, and the live shows are, if I remember correctly, July 7th and July 21st. I will leave a link to Nicole's channel down below and in any of the live shows, but check the most recent live show for the schedule, because I know that there was a revision, but I think it was in September. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to at least reading Live and Let Chai, and hopefully also reading No Good Tea Goes Unpunished. So fingers crossed for that. And then a book to read just because I want to read it is Pirates Persuasion by Lisa Kessler. This is the fourth book in the Sentinels of Savannah series, which is a series it's an urban fantasy paranormal romance series that is current day set and centers on the crew of immortal pirates. And there's lots of shenanigans. There is a government agency that's trying to protect the public from paranormal things. There are people with abilities. There are mysterious historical artifacts. It is a lot of fun, and I am reading this because the fifth book comes out at the end of July, and I would like to read the fifth book in August so that I am up to date with the series. I'm actually being a little optimistic because I am still reading book 3, but I have about 50 pages left. I feel confident I can finish it by the end of the month. So that's the last of the specific books that I am going to be reading. And then the one event that I'm going to be participating in, which I only saw today on Twitter, and I kept on going, gosh, usually there's a readathon at least every month. I participate in a readathon. What is it? In July, haven't heard anything. What is it? Of course it's Grinchathon, Christmas in July. Of course, Izzy usually runs a Christmas in July version of Grinchathon. So the dates have yet to be announced. It usually starts around the 25th, I think, so it'll be near the end of the month, and I will leave a link to Izzy's channel down below, as well as the Grinchathon Twitter, which are both great places to find out information on the Readathon, and I'm, of course, looking forward to participating as I try to every single round. So that was the one that I was going, what is it? It was Grinchathon, so of course it was Grinchathon. And so, yeah, and then the other event, I guess I'll just go to more events. The other event that is actually we're going to run concurrently at Grinchathon, so that's going to be interesting. But the world event that definitely I have my eye on is, of course, the Olympics. I am a huge Olympic fan. I feel more like as I get older and I learn more things about the world, I do start to feel a bit more complicated about the Olympics. So I am going to research the stuff that I feel complicated about, because that's on me to, investigate. When you get that feeling, it's important to follow through. Like in terms of the impact on the the people that create the settings, and there's often been challenging situations and in terms of the Olympics, usually building and then later kind of stuff. And then also there's often, lots of challenges within the Olympics and stuff like that. But for me, the idea of people around the world coming together to celebrate sport and excellence, and that is, I love it. I absolutely love it. I watch them every year that I can, and I just honestly, I just sort of push everything aside, and because they're only on for 2.5 weeks, right? And every 2 to 5 years, depending on how you spend it. The summer ones, I still remember the summer and winter ones when they were the same year, and then they split them so that they would be off. I guess it's 1.5 years and 2.5 years, so that it's a bit more evenly balanced and stuff like that. I like the Winter Olympics a lot, but to me, the Summer Olympics, I really look forward to them every year, and I always love watching whatever the host sport is. I don't know if there is one this year. This year is obviously going to be very different, especially like given COVID, but there's also been a lot of really great things that have happened this year in terms of the Olympics. I think in terms of people, especially, I think it's me. I don't quote me on this. It's just something I saw on Instagram, but I think it's the first time that there's been people competing as trans, which is excellent. And so I have my eye on that, and keeping just trying to. I just love the Olympic spirit, and I just like as I said, I feel complicated about it, but. I will look into those things. And also I need to look into what the time difference is, because I have a feeling this year it's going to be kind of crummy in terms of the time difference. I think most of things are going to be overnight and early in the morning. I'm not totally sure. I need to check into that. But for the Summer Olympics, I forgot to even say for me, one of the ones that I've started to really, really love in the past several Olympics is watching the judo, which I have no experience in. I've never done judo, and I just love it so much. There's this amazing sense of clarity often in terms of the scoring, in terms of there's a certain move that if you do it, you win the match. You don't even need a ref for that. It's like, yep, successful, this person wins. And that kind of clarity I really appreciate, especially because things like gymnastics, where it's judged by a variety of people and numbers and stuff like that, it's a bit more ambiguous, or subjective, whatever you want, or informed, I don't want to go there. But anyway, I don't want to go on a huge Olympic tangent, but I do definitely want to watch the Olympics. That is going to be my priority, and it's going to run, I think it is going to be kind of concurrent with Readathon, so that'll be interesting. I have to pick stuff that's good to read during the commercials. That's usually a good bet. And I believe they start on July 23rd, which I'm thrilled about because that's my birthday, and I was an Olympic baby. I was born during the Olympics in an Olympic city. So I just have a long history of watching the Olympics, and just really, I look forward to it every year. I love seeing the different sports, especially when there's a home, like a host sport, and just learning more about the world and in that way, and so I always look forward to it. So that is definitely going to be a huge part of my July, and but it's right at the end, so it'll impact July and August. I have no idea in terms of the channel. I should probably pre-film some stuff so that I just don't go dark during that time, but it could happen. I'll still be on Instagram, of course. I haven't really thought that through. But yeah, I just thought I would throw that out there in case you're I don't think anyone's going to be tracking my reading numbers, but I know that it's going to impact my numbers, and I'm totally okay with that because it's a special event that only happens every, as I said, 2 to 4 to 5 years. And and I do want to look into all of the COVID stuff because I want to feel good about watching it and feel like they're doing what they need to do, because I don't want people to feel pressured into competing, especially with health stuff, and it's all very complicated, I feel. So on to the other thing that I'm doing is, of course, I'm going to be reading library books. I don't know if my library haul is going to go up before or after this, but that is definitely going to be a lot of the books that I plan on reading in July. I also got a new library grab and go bag this month, the most recently. I got the LGBTQ plus bag for adults. They have them for every age group, which is awesome. So I will be sharing that in my library haul, and that will be some of the books that I am reading this month, and I'll be continuing to read the books that I renewed that I didn't finish. I didn't do bad. I finished 5 out of the 9, and then I finished a 6th the day I returned the book. So I read 6 out of 9 out of the first go, and we won't get into the numbers of the second one. So now for my big misstep. Oh, I almost forgot. So my big misstep for last month was that I I don't know if I mentioned this in my video or not. I wanted things to be a little looser, I think in June. But the thing is, I came up with 2 goals. The 2, and I may or may not have mentioned them in videos, but my 2 June reading goals were, 1, I wanted to keep my currently reading at 31 or less by the time June became July. I spent so much time in May working on reading the books that I was currently reading that I thought it would be a shame to go into July with that number being increased. So I felt like it was too much pressure to reduce it from 31, but I thought I would keep it at 31 and that would feel good. So that was one of my goals. But the other thing that happened in June was I went to the library. So obviously the books that I'm reading is going to increase because all of the books from the library are books I haven't read. So I had these 2 goals that were actually in direct conflict with each other. And I didn't realize that until a couple of weeks of being like, why am I resisting reading my library books? Why am I feeling like just because I started it, I have to finish it by the end of the month, as opposed to the due date that it has, or opposed to how long I think I can renew it for, or as opposed to read it and enjoy it. Shocking idea there. I was like, what? And then so I finally figured out what was going on was that I was resisting starting new books because I felt this pressure that I had to finish the month with 31 on my currently reading. And it's just not a realistic goal. So it's a great goal theoretically, but because I'm reading my library books, I'm actually not reading anything I started, my currently reading, that I from before June. Generally speaking, there's a couple of books I still would like to finish, and there were a couple of books that I finished. I did finish at least one thing for Translateathon, but generally speaking, what I've been reading is stuff from the library. I picked up in a couple occasional books on Scribd and Hoopla and stuff like that. Hoopla I almost don't count because I'm always reading one comic or graphic novel and I finish it within 3 days and then I start another one. So it just sort of occupies like one slot of my currently reading. So I don't, unless I start like 5 at once, which I don't do, I don't worry about it. I don't worry about that at all because I can finish them same with reading manga. I can finish it in the next reading session if I need to, so I don't worry about it. But yeah, so those 2 goals had direct conflict with each other. Read books from the library, keep my currently reading static. Does not work. So for the rest of this summer, I'm pretty much going to be enjoying books from the library. So I have to get over the fact that my currently reading will go up and down. And some books I will read and finish, and some books I probably shouldn't start anything that isn't a library book. But I'm not going to do that because I don't think I should feel like I can't read my own physical books or ebooks. I don't think that that's helpful. But, yeah, so it was a bit sad to make that realization, but I thought I would share it because I think it's very valuable to know that if you feel like if you pick 2 goals and you think, well, I only have 2 goals, 2 goals is very achievable. If they are in direct conflict with each other, it's really hard to achieve them. You can alternate one then the other, but it's hard to work towards both of them at the same time. So that was the sticky point that I came up with. So for me, how I am trying to work through that sticky point is I really want to enjoy the library books as I can throughout the summer and into the early fall. And then once that's done, I will get back to everything else. Most of the books that I read in May, I sort of left at a good point, so I can get back to them later. And if I need to read behind, the last chapter to get back into it, so be it. And I probably will do another round of working on my currently reading in the fall at some point. But I think to enjoy the library books, I have to let go of working on the currently reading, unless I start to thin out how much I'm reading, because I'm getting a lot from the library. And I don't think I'll be doing that. I think I'm going to be enjoying lots from the library. I think that's the route that I'm going to go. I didn't get to go at all last year, or I chose not to go at all last year, so I'm going to enjoy them while I can, and then I'll get back to everything else later. So I thought I would share that. I hope it was helpful. Let me know, do you ever run into that, having competing priorities? If you do you have an approach for it? I would love to hear that. I love talking about goals. I really, really do. And yeah, so hopefully it will be a fun month ahead. Links below to all of the channels mentioned, and also to, of course, the list of books, which is rather short this month. And then I will have my library haul up either before or after this. They'll go up the same week. So yeah, I'm really excited to share those books. And yeah, I will be back soon with another video. Thanks for watching.